So, getting started on doing your observations. You really need to have a bit of a game plan. You're going to be going, if you're going in with Nanny, you're going to be going and seeing neurosurgery. Well, you need to understand a little bit about that. In the biodesign, they talk about strategic focus. I just think about it as, where are you coming from? Andrew talked a little bit about this earlier. Are you part of a large company that already has a group of technologies that you're developing around? Are you a startup that's agnostic around any technology and you're just looking to learn? Personally, what are you trying to get out of this? Then you need to understand how the patient is being taken care of. And the second thing is how the money is being flowed, because ultimately you're trying to develop a device for a commercial application. So I'll give you an example of these, mapping the continuum of care and continuum of money. So just in a general patient, they have symptoms, they go to the general practitioner, they get referred to a specialist. They're going to eventually go into surgery. Afterwards, they go to post-op, they're going to go home, and they're going to have a follow-up. There might be opportunities all along that. I focused on surgery because I spent a lot of my previous life before Novacor developing products for surgery, and most of the money is spent there. But there could be opportunities all along that continuum. There could be at-home monitoring to make sure that that patient is taking their medications properly, for example. There may be opportunities in that space. So you need to understand what that looks like for the specific type of procedure or type of illness that you're looking at. So you need to do a little bit of research on it. And then, I always like mapping the money, okay? Who's making products right now? Who gets to purchase it? Is it the doctor that makes the purchasing decision? Very rarely these days. It's a central purchasing group within the hospital. How do they make that decision? Then it gets scheduled, you get inventory, it would go to surgery, so you're crossing that patient. This is the one point, if you're developing a product for surgery, that's the one point in time the money crosses the patient, okay? Reimbursement is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. You can develop the best product in the world, but if you don't have a reimbursement code for it, they won't use it. It will not get into a hospital, because a hospital won't get paid by insurance or by Medicare for it, and it will never get adopted. And it can take 2 years to establish a reimbursement code. So if you're developing something new and you need a new reimbursement code, you better figure that out early and start the work early. That needs to be part of your development plan. It's better if there's a reimbursement code already established that has enough money to pay for whatever you're doing. And then I just put this sort of sitting by itself, downstream cost avoidance. That can be a powerful incentive in the right circumstance. So we're sitting here at Duke University, and if there's a procedure, if there's an innovation that can get the patient out of the hospital a day earlier, the cost of holding the patient in this hospital, I don't know what it is. I'm going to guess it's a couple $1,000s a day. Something that, if you can get it out of the hospital a day earlier, that purchasing person is going to be more incentivized to do that. Only if the hospital's full. If the hospital's not full, they may not care about getting that patient out a day earlier. They may like that revenue from that patient being there. Now, the good thing is most hospitals are full, so most of the time they want to do that. So you just need to understand that landscape. So that's just sort of some background on the type of case you're going to, or the type of opportunity you're going to go after. Some additional background is on the specific opportunity. You need to understand a little bit about what you're going to see and who you're going to be talking to. So if it's a surgical procedure and you're going to go into neurosurgery and they're going to do a laminectomy and actually a back surgery, you need to know determine what a laminectomy is. You need to know the anatomy of the spine. You need to know the tissue layers that they're dissecting to get to the spine. You need to know the approach. You know, as I said before, watch a laminectomy on OR Live. Go. You know, it may be an hour to watch the whole thing. Watch it. Watch a couple of them. See what they're doing, get familiar with it. It's going to be much richer for you. You're going to be able to ask much more detailed questions on what's going on and make better observations if you have a baseline understanding of what's going on. You know, it's a little embarrassing when you're sitting there and you go, Doc, what's that? And you go, what's what? And that thing over there. You can't even say what the anatomy you're looking at. It doesn't really go over very well. So I always, the folks that work for me, I always would have them do these steps and understand it so that they could go in with at least a baseline knowledge. So, you know, because doctors are busy, and if you're going in and seeing a procedure with them and you haven't done your homework, it shows, and it's a, you know, you may not get offered to come back in. Once you've done all this, then you're ready to go schedule interviews. And I highly encourage doing all that before. Okay? So, once you're in an interview, it could be in a surgery, but it could be at other places. So if you're talking to doctors, what are you looking for? Okay? Most doctors will come across as if they know exactly what they're doing at all points in time. No offense. But unless they're talking to another doctor, they will come across very self-assured. Okay? So it's hard to identify where they're having problems. But you'll see signs. So look for, you know, use your eyes, use your ears. Look for where there's frustration, where there's uncertainty. I always like seeing procedures, the same procedure by different people. And OR Live is a great way to do that. And you can talk about that. So when there are differences in the standard of care, that means no one thing works the best. That's always a really big clue to me. If one doctor does it one way, and one doctor does it another way, and a third doctor does it a third way, either it's just not that important of a step and it doesn't really matter what you're doing, or there's something there and they haven't figured out the best way to do it. Medical literature there's no randomized studies that show the best way, so they all go about it a different way. And if they're going about it a different way, that means that something's wrong with each of those solutions because there's no standard best way to do it. So I always look for that one. That's a real key to me. You know, another really key area that I like to look for is limitations. A very ripe area for innovation is making an innovation that can take a procedure that only 3 people in the world can do and making it accessible for the average surgeon that lives, let's say, in Southern Pines, not at a major medical center. That will drive a lot of new procedures being done if you can find something like that. So if there are procedures that are really limited and it takes an extremely skilled surgeon to do. I just heard, when was it, yesterday or today, they did the first hand transplant here at Duke that was done in the state, right? Incredibly complex procedure. Now, I'm not saying that there are innovations that could make that any orthopedic surgeon could do, but if there were, wow. So I look for those kind of things as well. Things that are incredibly difficult and technical for the surgeon, that takes a high degree of surgical skill, where you could maybe innovate and make it easier for a broader population of surgeons to do. When you're talking to the patients, what are you going to look for? And I do recommend you talk to patients. I'll give you a case study that we did before. You're looking for a completely different thing. What are they worried about? Well, they're worried about pain and the fear of the procedure. They might be worried about vanity. And the case study I'm going to give you has got that exactly in there. They might be worried about their impact on their lifestyle or their daily activities. And if you can innovate around that to relieve those concerns, you may have something that's meaningful. And when you're analyzing the system, what are you looking for? You're really looking for the top 2. Can you improve care, and can you do it cheaper? Those are the biggest drivers. Can you give the caregiver tools that can make the care more effective, faster, cheaper. That's what everyone is looking for. And you want, you know, in the best case scenario, it does all of that. It does absolutely all of that. Okay. I've got a case study. But before I do that, question.